Humble as the Sun by Bob Vylan. Humble as the Sun is the third studio album by London-based duo Bob Vylan. It was released on April 5th, 2024. Just a precursor for people who are listening, because I don't think this group is they're not really they're not really pop artists, to be honest. Like they're not super well
Mhm.
known. But the genre is sort of like a grime, which is in the EDM genre, mixed with punk rock and hip hop. That's sort of where the vibe is. But Eric, your thoughts on this album?
I actually thought that this was going to be a pure hip hop album when I first listened to it, and I was quite thrown off for sure because it was like, okay, it's got that like reggae feel to it for sure,
Yep.
just with his accent, but I don't know where exactly he's from,
Somewhere in the UK.
but like there must be like he must have Jamaican influence because he has that English accent mixed with the Jamaican.
Mm.
I know there's a word for it in England and I can't remember what it is, but it's a very fascinating accent to me. But I actually kind of dug this album. It kind of gave me a feel of like you said, there's like that old school punk rock in there, like almost like a Sex Pistols feel,
Mm.
which was kind of neat. But it was also mixed with like a bit of rage, like
Yeah.
with some of the guitar stuff. Like it was just like a little sprinkle of rage in there, and like I started laughing to myself because as I'm listening to the lyrics, like so. Humble as the Sun, I really appreciated the message. Obviously, he's very like this is a very political album, I feel,
Mm.
of just everything that's going on and kind of like the lower middle class being treated like trash. And where I was laughing at was the first few songs. He's like, it's hard to put food on the table, it's hard to pay the rent. And I was just like, is this like a Tenacious D album? Like, we need to find money to pay the rent, you know? Like, so
Okay.
I
Yeah.
th-
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the first half was a little bit cheesy in a sense, but when I went back and listened to it again, I got the vibe the first listen, and then the second time I listened, I appreciated it a lot more. Like for instance, the song "Rain," I
Mm.
feel like it's a very powerful message, um, because it was like almost like here's what uh, it was like he was taking a stance at the beginning of the song of here's what our political party can do for you.
Yep.
And then that girl comes on and it was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, and then she kind of puts it into perspective of what it's actually like, which is kind of neat. I did enjoy the later half of the album better than the top half.
Oh,
I thought the
interesting.
intro song was really well done. It kind of set the tone of it. Um, I wasn't a fan of Get Yourself a Gun. Dream Big was probably one of my favorite songs, along with Makes Me Violent. I really dug those two songs. I thought Makes Me Violent was a really cool, like, it was almost like a, like, here, take the pill that
Mm.
like gets you into the norm. And then it's just like, but these are all the problems. And he goes, no, it's okay, man. Like, just take the pill. Like, you'll be fine. Everything's good. And then he's like, it makes me want to violent. But no, like, it's almost like this weird utopia, which is
Hmm.
kind of like a cool feel to the out. Like, it's the lyrics were well written in the sense that it really set this almost like dark, like crazy, creepy tone.
Hmm.
But then it was like a very happy sounding song, which I thought was kind of cool. So um I also liked He's a Man too, and there's
Oh,
a
so
line
good.
about Queen Elizabeth in there, which I really actually thought was quite clever.
Hmm.
Um I'm gonna pull up the lyric because it was really good.
Yeah, but you're
Um,
right. The whole album feels sort of like a dystopian take on the world. Now, obviously, like he's talking about his current view of the world, so it's sort of it's crazy to be like it feels really dark, but this is like his perception of what his life is like, or his peers are like, or society is like.
mhm.
So you find the lyrics.
Yeah, it's like it's the line. Past the queen on the way up his nose. Dearest Elizabeth, may God save her soul. Like I just love that. Like just the tone of the song is really cool because it's like this is the man that's supposed to be your role model, but this is what he in reality is actually is.
Yeah.
Right.
Um yeah, no, like I really love this album. Like, and I don't I hate to bring this up because this is has been part of the controversy of this podcast, but Cowboy Carter, if we're gonna come back to that, right? Cowboy Carter.
William Shatner should do an album with Beyonce, and then it will be fantastic.
So the problem, I think, now that I listen to this album, right, it gives me a bit more perspective on why I dislike Cowboy Carter so much. Because Cowboy Carter, to me at least, felt like a statement was trying to be made saying like, oh, black musicians have contributed to many genres, especially country, and I'm going to be writing an album that showcases that, right?
Mhm.
But it sort of felt not authentic. It and I've made this argument on on that episode before too, right? Like it just felt like a bunch of people just got together and started songwriting together, and everyone just needed their opinion in and to get their songwriting credits. It just felt like an
Mhm.
album made by committee. So like the intention I think was good, but the execution of Cowboy Carter was just like, this is a freaking trash album because nothing in this I don't feel anything. I don't relate to any of this. I don't feel any authenticity. Like there's no
Mhm.
emotion here. Whereas this album, Humble as a Sun, obviously is very political, has very strong social commentary, but I feel like I can feel like his pain and suffering in the songs and the lyrics. Like I can
Mhm.
actually like, and that's what I love about this album. It just feels very authentic, and there is a message he's trying to say, right? And this goes back to like Rage Against the Machine. So many people complain about Rage Against the Machine that they can't listen to that band because they're too political. They have too much to say. They just need to
Mhm.
shut up and play the music, right? Which I
Yeah.
disagree with. And disclaimer, I don't agree with probably 99% of anything that Rage Against the Machine has in their lyrics. Like I'm probably on the opposite spectrum of that. But like I only care about authenticity in music. If that is your truth, that is what you need to have in your music, and having that different perspective that is different from mine is like it's just a blessing to hear that in music form, right? Like
Mhm.
when you're making music, it has to be your authentic self. And this is what I feel like is this album. There's just so much social commentary about middle class, lower class, upper class, like that social divide, what it's
Mhm.
like to be a black person in a predominantly white society. Like there's so much commentary on that, and then misogyny. Like there's everything in this album. He touches on all of that stuff, and when I listen to it, because it's sort of foreign to me, like that environment, it feels like some sort of like 1984 type of thing where it's just
It
a
does.
dystopian, like, a fictional book. But like to there is some truth to, like, obviously when you're writing lyrics and you're playing music, you're exaggerating a lot of things. But there is a lot of truth in like what his circumstances or what he sees in society, and that's what he's put into this music. And I just really appreciate like this album. It's just so good from that perspective. And
Well, even just like in the song "Dream Big," like grew up fast in a place unknown, four walls, but the place ain't home.
so good.
Terrified for my life sometimes, especially when my dear mummy ain't home.
Yeah.
Right, so it's just like obviously it's like yes, he had a house, he had a shelter over his head, but it didn't feel like home because it's just it's just so fucked up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that the emotion put behind this album was very present, and I just the Cowboy Carter album. I just it did not have that emotional like impact, right,
Yeah.
that this does, because like even when he's singing too, like you could tell he's given everything he's got into the song.
Hmm.
And I think it would be actually really cool to see these guys live, just because
Oh yeah.
I know like they have that emotional part that they can connect with the audience for sure. That'll be fantastic to see.
Yeah.
um yeah, that's the best way to describe this album is 1984, because it's very like even the album art,
Yeah.
right? He's supposed to be that dandelion, just all smiles. Life is great,
Yeah. Yeah.
but deep down, underneath the dirt, it's not. And that's why I think I really like that. Whatchamacallit, what song is it? Makes Me Violent.
Mm.
Like that portrays this album very well.
Yeah. It's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's like I think the strongest point of this is two things. It's the delivery of the lyrics and the lyrics themselves. Like
Mhm.
there's a few lines that I love, like humble as the sun. I wrote this down. I combust, my heart filled with love, my guts filled with kombucha. Let my words ferment, sip them slow and end up looser. Like it's just such a
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful line that he put together. And then towards the end of that song, he like starts talking about like the music industry. It's now watch me as I fight back for every reggae artist that never got their rights back, that died broke and hungry on the island of Jamaica, while someone
Mhm.
at Island Records made a killing off the right tracks. Fuck that. It's like I've never thought about that, but it's true. They name Def
Mhm.
Jam's offshoot is Island Records, where Def Jam is the rap record label, and every artist that they signed that wasn't in that rap category, which is typically the reggae artists or the R&B artists, were signed to Island Records. And like it's crazy that he tied that together, like the island of Jamaica and tying that to Island Record.
Mhm.
Oh, it's so good. I just love just the wordplay that he's done on this album. It's so good.
Absolutely. It was very well thought of,
Uh,
which
and I don't know if you caught this, but on the song Hunger Games,
mhm.
he puts in the line, "The kids aren't all right. We need a way to feed our offspring," which just blew
Mhm.
my mind because I was like, "That's an Offspring song." He just referenced the Offspring.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's I didn't catch that,
It's so good. The
but
kids
that is
aren't all
clever.
right. We need a way to
Yeah.
feed our offspring. It was just like this. This is
Mhm.
amazing. This is genius level.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
um,
I thought it was well produced too,
yeah.
and I thought the order of the album was actually really well thought, like methodical too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it when an album like it draws you in with "Humble as a Sun." I thought the next few songs were okay, even though like "Dream Big" is probably one of my favorite songs on this album, along with "Makes Me Violent." But um, the later half of this album is unreal.
Mm.
I found so.
Yeah, it's so good. I just when it comes to music, like the most important thing is just to be authentic and have something to say. I just hate it when people just say like shut up and just play your guitar. I just hate that. It's so annoying to me when like what's the point of just listening to elevator music at that point if they don't have
Mhm.
anything to say? So like just having like some sort of emotional or some sort of intellectual weight to these songs is just it this album's so good.
Mhm.
All right, Eric, final thoughts, ratings, what are you gonna give it?
I mean, this when I first heard it, I thought it was like I'm like, well, this is not what I expected. But the more I listen to this, I actually quite am fond of this album, and I think it's I don't know, like I really like it, and I think it's probably one of the best albums we've reviewed so far this year.
Hmm. Okay.
This year,
Yeah.
just because I don't know, this year has not been going well for us, so we're bound for a win, and I guess this is it. So I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Damn. A 9.
I really am excited to see what other stuff he has.
Yeah. um
So,
I am so close to where you're at. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10
oh,
just because. You know,
What is it then that doesn't make it that 0.5 a 10?
the 10 has to be a masterpiece. Like the 10
Mm,
actually has to be like, this is a perfect, undeniable album.
mm,
Whereas, yes, there is authenticity. There is, um, the lyrics are great. The sound is great, but it doesn't have the earworm songs on it.
mm,
I just, it doesn't have, you don't come out of this album humming any melodies or remembering any melodies. You come out of it remembering the lyrics and what he's saying and what his message is.
yeah.
But I think you need all of that to be a 10 out of 10. So like
Mm,
that's the only thing that's missing. It doesn't have that crazy train Randy Rhoads riff, or it doesn't have, I don't know, the Highway to Hell guitar riff, right?
mm,
That's the
mhm,
only thing that's missing from here. Otherwise, it's like an almost perfect album. Um, but yeah,
mm.
it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's just such a good album
Is this our first 9?
of this year. I gave the Wall
Yeah.
or the Smile album a 9.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's
You
right.
did
I forgot.
not. I think you gave it a 7 or a 6.
Mm,
anyways, anyways, fabulous album. Just love it. I'm
mm.
so glad that this made it to the. It wasn't originally on the list, but we did have a spot, so I'm glad we
No, I'm
collected it here.
very happy that it
Yeah.
made it here. So
But yeah, "Humble as the Sun" by Bob Vylan. It's a great album. Go listen to it. 9.5 for me and a 9 from Eric.
I just
Um,
have to say too
yep.
before we change it, this even the album name, like it's after the first song, "Humble as the Sun." Like as much as that, like I just love that because like the sun is so destructive,
Mm,
right? It can literally like it causes cancer, like literally causes cancer. It kills people, all right? It creates droughts, but we also need it too
yep.
to survive. So that I think is like if that doesn't describe this album, just the innuendos and just the metaphorical
Yep.
like message behind this, it's crazy what he pulled off here.
Yep.
So
It's so good. Okay, so that's that one. And for those of you who are following along with us every single week, I mean, this is probably not a surprise, but Taylor Swift released a new album, so we're gonna have to talk about
our sponsor Taylor Swift.
it. But the Tortured Poets Department, we are actually going to do the full double album. We're not just going to do the one disc. We're gonna do the Tortured Poets Department, the anthology, the whole thing. 31 tracks, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, be here next week for that one. It should be a very long discussion. A very long
Yes,
discussion.
will probably cause more controversy. Maybe we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, cool. That is the podcast for another week. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Crossroads Music Podcast here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast. Here at Monday from 10 p.m. ET to 10 p.m. ET and 7 p.m. PT. Catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast stuff. Anything else, Eric? Anything else that we need to wrap up on?
Cheers.
Perfect. All right. We'll see you all next time.